Hey everybody, it's Gordy with Arkansas Preparedness Network coming at you today. I want to talk to those that conceal carry this evening. I think if you conceal carry or open carry or whatever, I commend you for taking on that responsibility of protecting yourself, your family, and your friends. I think it's a great thing. With that said, you need to get training and you need to practice. A famous firearms instructor, and I don't remember who it was, said that basically there are three things that people who shoot a weapon do. You can shoot, you can get training, and you can practice. And his philosophy is, if you're just going to the range and you're shooting paper targets and stuff like that, you're just shooting. If you're talking with an instructor that's giving you drills, watching you do those drills, giving you corrective actions, making sure that you're doing it correctly, all that kind of good stuff, that's training. And then when you take that information and you go home on your own and you work on those things, that's practice. So training and practice are important. I think everybody would agree with that. So with that said, I think it's important that everybody actually go to an instructor and get training. Now, just because you went and got your concealed carry permit and you had to go through that training class, that was not firearms defensive pistol training. That was not defensive pistol training. That was training on the rules and regulations of where you can carry, where you can't carry, and the liabilities if you accidentally shoot somebody or something like that. So don't think that just because you have a concealed carry license and you go through that class every 5 years or whatever that you've gotten training. I recently went through a defensive pistol training class and learned a lot. I also watched several firearms instructors on YouTube, and there's a lot of neat tips that you can glean from them, and I'll mention them, and I'll also put links down below in the description to their YouTube channels. Good folks. But let's talk about training. I mean, just because you have a gun, if you are not proficient, let's use the word proficient. If you're not proficient with that firearm, then you could potentially do more harm than good if you get in a situation where you have to deploy that firearm. So it's important to do some training and some practice. And I want to talk a little bit about what I do to practice. So this is the gun I carry. This is a Smith & Wesson Shield, and I'm going to unload this for you right now so we're clear. And I wanted to unload this, take this out of my holster, and I want to show you this. I got this little dude right here. Yep, it's a blue gun. It's a laser gun. And I wanted to show you that I got it because it is the same size as my firearm. Okay? So when I train with this blue gun, I'm going to put the real gun down. When I train with this blue gun, and this is actually a laser gun, I'm going to see, hopefully you can see that actually, whenever I pull the trigger, it automatically resets the trigger and it shoots a laser dot. So when I'm practicing, it allows me to get a sight picture, and when I pull that trigger, I can see that laser dot and know if I hit the target. It's safe for me to do this in the house. There are a lot of reasons for doing something like this. Number one, it's a lot less expensive. I got this dude on Amazon for 50 bucks on sale, and I'll actually put a link to this thing down there. They've got a full-size one. This one is actually what they call the size of a Glock 43. They have one that's the same size as a Glock 19. It costs a little bit more, and they actually have one that's the same size as a snub-nose revolver. Now, the nice thing about this one, again, I said it's the same size as the gun that I actually carry, my shield, and it will actually fit in my inside the waistband holster. Now, it doesn't fit exactly right, but when I went through defensive pistol class, we talked about techniques for drawing. So this allows me, without having the dangers of a gun that, even though I know I unloaded it, treat every gun as if it's loaded. So this allows me to practice drawing and presenting the firearm. It also allows me If I'm in the house, it allows me to sit around. I can shoot light switches with it. I don't want to shoot my pets. I don't want to shoot my family members, anything like that, because that's a really bad habit to get into. But I can also use this if I can practice inside the house. Of course, my wife looks at me like I'm crazy sometimes, because I'll be standing in the kitchen and I'll step out, over the corner, around the corner, because that's one thing. My weak side, that I've got to do a lot of work on that. So that's one of the things that I've got to do and I work on. But something like that, a training aid, the dry fire is a lot less expensive. Like I said, I got this on sale for $50. So it's the cost of about 3 boxes of ammo. And I guarantee you, I've already pulled that trigger 500 times at least. So that's about 10 boxes of ammo. Not to mention, my daughter has actually picked this up. My wife and I actually took her out here in the back a couple of months ago, and she enjoys shooting. She saw this thing laying on the counter in there when I wasn't using it. She picked it up and she asked about it, and so I showed her how it worked and everything. Gave her some tips on improving her accuracy, and she's picking it up about 2 or 3 times a week and kind of playing with it a little bit. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. It helps people get used to that kind of stuff. So something like that is a great training aid. Now, that does not take the place of practicing changing magazines. Obviously, this one, the magazine doesn't come out of. It doesn't have recoil. You can't do malfunction drills with it. So keep that in mind. You're still going to have to do some live fire training in order to get, or practice in order to get all that stuff done. Now, I mentioned some of the YouTube instructors that I like to follow their YouTube channel. Thunder Ranch is one of them, and I'll put a link to all of these down there. Thunder Ranch, Clint Smith, he's he's an old gristly guy, but man, he's a serious instructor, and he's got a lot of tips on his YouTube channel. If you get a chance to go up to Oregon, man, I would love to go take a class from Clint. He's one of the more expensive instructors, obviously, but he's got a lot of good information on there, tips that you can get. And like I said, now Clint, sometimes being an older gristly guy, he's prior military, prior law enforcement. His language can be a little strong at times, so be aware of that. But look up Thunder Ranch on YouTube or Clint Smith. Thunder Ranch is the name of the channel. Another one that I follow is John Lovell. His name is John, common spelling. Last name is L-O-V-E-L-L, I believe, John Lovell. And he is a prior Army Ranger and a firearms instructor. Unlike Clint, he's a younger guy, and he travels around the nation and does classes. So his business is called Warrior Poet Society, so you could do a Google search on Warrior Poet Society. But he's got a lot of good instructional information in his videos, tips and tricks. And then there is a younger couple out of Ohio. The channel is Geauga Firearms Academy, and Geauga is a county in Ohio, so you'll have to Google that and see how it's spelled. Well, I'll put a link to it down below. But Neil and Kim, Neil is the licensed firearm instructor, and Kim helps him out a lot. The nice thing about their channel is they aim stuff more towards beginners, and I really love what Kim is doing on the channel, because she has a ladies only thing. Because for us guys, we don't think about, well, and her husband and the other 2 guys, Clint and John Lovell, they don't talk about, well, you've got a firearm in your purse, or what kind of holsters can women wear with a dress. I mean, heck, they've got holsters now that's on the bottom of a bra where a woman can reach up her shirt and just pull a piece of Velcro and boom, and she's armed. So all that kind of stuff. But Kim does a lot of videos that are aimed specifically at women, and Neil and Kim both do videos that are aimed more towards beginners. So I highly recommend, highly recommend you find a firearms instructor in your area that's close to you that is NRA certified or USCCA certified or something like that, a certified firearms instructor. Ask around, make sure they've got a pretty good reputation. We actually have 2 firearms instructors that are in Arkansas Preparedness Network. So if you're in Arkansas Preparedness Network, man, put a post on the Facebook page if you're interested in finding out where these guys are. As a matter of fact, the one that I recently went to, the defensive pistol class not too long ago, was pretty close to Central Arkansas by one of the firearms instructors that's in the group. So it's very important. Go get some good training from a licensed firearm instructor and then go home and practice. Don't just go out in your backyard or go down to the range and shoot, because there's a lot of liabilities, as you know, especially if you got a concealed carry permit. That's one of the big things that they harp on in class when you're getting your permit is the liabilities. You know, there's a lawyer attached to every bullet that you send down range. So it would behoove us all to make sure that we are extremely proficient with our firearms if we intend to carry that firearm for personal protection and protection of our family and friends, which I have made a commitment earlier this year to do. So I went and seeked out some training and have been doing practice, have been spending a little bit of money. Clint Smith over at Thunder Ranch, you know, he says, man, there are people that drive, you know, $100,000 motorhomes down the road, but they say they can't afford to spend, you know, a couple of $100s on ammo to actually practice, or a couple of $100s to go to a good class for a weekend to get some good training. So it's all about priorities. If you're committed to carrying that firearm, you need to spend a little money on training, and you also need to spend a little money on practice. And for me, I believe it's cheaper to get something like this when I can catch it on sale, and this keeps me from spending a whole lot of money on ammo. Obviously, I still have to get out and shoot my real firearm, dummy rounds, practicing malfunctions, all that kind of good stuff, which I can't do with the blue gun. But anyway, I think I've taken up enough of your time. Get training, get training, get training, and practice. Stay safe out there. Love you guys. Y'all take care, and I'll catch you next time.